Part of anatomy and physiology, we'll be discussing some of these here shortly. That's a picture of a cell, in case you forgot from biology. And we know that the three modes of transportation of weight is by those three methods. We have a current treatment called HART to decrease the virus level to an undetectable level, to preserve an increased number of the CD4 plus T cells, prevent resistance, and so forth. That's the goal. I can't hear you.
If someone's being treated and is not detected, the virus is not detected, and they go to somewhere else to get treated for something else, and you can't detect it anymore.
No, you can't detect it unless you do a blood test. So when it became its peak, when HIV was at its peak, they said, okay, everyone who comes in the hospital will get a blood test, and the HIV will be part of that. HIPAA came along and said, oh, you can't do that. You can't test them for HIV. You have to just, no. That's an infraction upon their personal rights, and therefore you could not do it unless you have just cause, which made a lot of people nervous. HART benefits of delayed therapy is to avoid negative effects of treatment, maintain treatment options, drug resistance. What we're trying here is to educate the person on the disease process that they have, and then to make them a stakeholder in their treatment. It has happened in the past and probably still happens now with a lot of people who have this disease do not seek treatment because of the side effects of the treatment itself, or just decide to ignore it. Maybe it'll go away. So you have to get them involved as much as possible in order for it to work effectively. But there are potential risks for delayed therapy, as you see there as well. So it's a catch-22. And I have had patients who are HIV positive and refuse treatment, saying, well, I'm going to die of something anyway, just leave me alone. There's a story attached to that, but I'll leave it alone. Move on. Antiretroviral agents. As we see there, NRTIs. That all we're doing is that we are inhibiting the cell's ability to replicate, or the virus's ability to replicate. The problem with most of the early medications was that, you remember that beta-lactamyl ring around the virus? Around the bacteria, you had a similar ring around this virus. And what would happen is that when the virus was identified, then it would start dying off. The virus, the other viruses that were still alive would mutate to prevent from being killed. Oh, now you have mutated viruses, so you try something else, they kill a bunch of viruses off, and then they would mutate again. And then it would mutate again, and then it would mutate again. And that's why it's so hard to eradicate, because the virus keeps mutating as you're treating it. The best way to get rid of it is by the immune system, but because it keeps changing and mutating, the immune system wears out, and it can no longer be effective, and it becomes ineffective, and then the disease takes over. The person does not die from HIV. It dies from the pneumonia and the cancer, and that which is caused from the disease itself. We have protease inhibitors. They're currently FDA approved as of this writing. I think there's 2 more. As of the writing of this book, I think there's 2 more. The HIV virus phenomenon has caused the FDA to quickly ratify medications faster than any other disease known to man. The problem is that some of them worked very well and they got on the board really quickly, and others, they got on the board and as soon as the patient took them, they died. They were fatal. They killed viruses, but they were killing other things within the body itself. So then the FDA stepped back and said, okay, let's take a little bit more time to do this. But still, they come out very quickly. We have different kind of combinations. On the table 355, we have a list of those. And then herbal alerts on 35.1. And then the drug interactions that I have here, this is for your own information. Don't go on to that. This is from my old book?
Yes.
What page is it on?
I'm not able to find any herbal alerts.
There's no herbal.
43?
Page what?
Classification system, let's say, table 35. Okay.
You're not even in there, Chad. And it's no 35 for me.
Okay, well, ignore that. That's something that I left on my slide.
There's no 35.5 either.
Ignore that.
Okay.
Adherence to regime is major concern. We talked about that already. Suggest to promote client adherence, and then just a lot of his client teaching, helping them to understand the disease and how it can be managed. It cannot be eradicated, but how it can be managed. Most common infection, we have it. You don't need to know all of these, by the way. These are this slide is up here to show you of all the issues that are going to go on because of this disease, how it attacks the body. And these all can happen at the same time, by the way. Not just one or two of them. They can all happen at the same time. It's it destroys the immune system. Therefore, your body cannot fight against anything else. Yes, sir. Where's PCC? Okay, what is PCP? Pneumocystic pneumonia? Pneumocystic. Quinine pneumonia, excuse me. Pneumocystic quinine pneumonia. Thank you.
So we don't really need to know those ones.
No, you don't answer.
Don't really need to know.
Maternal, yes ma'am.
So we don't need to know all of those.
That's for your own information. That was just a demonstration. Okay. We had a correction. The antiviral is on 35.2.
Yes.
And in herbal,
It's St. John's Wort. Don't take it to St. John's Wort. It's in that table 35.3 drug interaction.
Says don't take it with that.
Don't take it.
right.
Okay, so like you told us we didn't have to know it, but we do need to know 35.2.
you'll need to know 35-3. You'll need to know St. John's wort. But you also,
Table 35-3, not 5.
okay, everyone listen at the same speed. Ready? St. John's wort is the focus. The interesting thing is with St. John's wort is that has adverse interaction with almost every med known to man. It's good by itself, but if you take your medications, don't take it. This one here, when I did my research, and the book doesn't talk a whole lot about it, that if the mother has HIV, she is to continue treatment. There is issue, about on the neonatal. Even though HIV can cross the placental barrier, it's not 100% that the child comes out HIV positive. It's not 100%. Right. She said it comes to life at about 15, 16 months. Is that now you can identify it, but just because the mom is HIV positive doesn't mean the baby's going to be either. But it's something to be cautious about. Pre-exposure available. It's available all. And again, this for your information. The highest for a number of years, the highest incidence of HIV, other than those living in San Francisco, were healthcare workers. For years, we didn't wear gloves and stuff. We didn't. We didn't have all the strange things going around. We didn't. I remember working in the emergency room, having a mom bring kid in, bleeding all over, and by the time I got done, I'm blood from here down to my toes. Didn't think anything of it. Go wash it off, and off you go. Where now we worry about hepatitis, we worry about HIV, and whatever else. So it's as healthcare workers, you have to be pretty on your toes as far as your general precautions are concerned. Vaccines, there are them. We have all of these. No, I don't want you to memorize all the vaccines there are, but these are all the vaccines that are available. There's a lot of them. I always wonder, well, there's too many. When I was a kid, we didn't have any. You caught chicken pox and measles and German measles and mumps and whooping cough and all that stuff. And we were healthier back then. Now we're antiseptic. What are we doing? We're dying off. Okay, off my soapbox, continue on. The CDC is the one who recommends child immunizations, which are here, and you can go under there if you want to see the actual schedule. I've got, I think, a shortened one on here as well. Adult immunizations, these are recommended. It's like the tetanus. Tetanus is recommended to give every 10 years. They're still studying that, and there is scientific data that tetanus, once you get it, is good for life. But that is still up for debate.
We gotta take it to get it here.
Correct. I bet
The
you sure
antigens always a debate.
Do you want us to know all of those adult immunizations?
He said no.
No.
Okay, just curious, because you broke it out in child and adult.
Okay. Immunization for foreign travel. Basically, if you go on that website, and again, this is for your information. Website at cdc.gov travel. That tells you if you're going to go somewhere, you type that in, and it tells you if you're required to have any immunizations. For years, it isn't relevant now, but up until just probably not even 10 years ago, to travel to the United Kingdom, you had to have a TB skin test before you left, and a TB skin test when you got back. Because the highest incidence of TB in the world was in England. Interesting, huh?
That's what my kids want to take us. With me and Dan, because we was in the military. We want to take the kids.
As a health care provider, you are responsible for reporting vaccine preventable diseases. The World Health Organization has a pot of money. They have $10,000 in gold set aside that if a disease is eradicated and then you find that it pops its ugly head back up again, you get that money. And that happened, what, 4.5 years ago with smallpox. Smallpox was eradicated, it came back. It's in South Africa. And now they're finding some in South America. It came back. And they're starting to see incidents of other diseases that weren't there before are starting to come back. One of the main reasons are the fight against having your child immunized.
Why don't they just change how we deliver it, so there's not such a problem?
And that had nothing to do with delivery.
No.
It had nothing to do with delivery. Well, I'm not going to get at it because we're short of time, but it has something to do with multimedia.
Yeah.
But another day we'll discuss that. Okay, moving on.
They tell everything. I hate them.
The Varicella, don't need to know anything about that. Okay, other vaccines of interest we have there. Flu mist is fairly new. You're starting to see a lot of the different things that are coming out in nasal sprays. Some of my skills lab, or some people in my skills lab group, you know, when you check your finger for blood sugar, that they've been working on that. The same thing you check for pulse oximeter, they're doing the same thing for blood glucose. The University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee.
That's awesome.
So you don't stick yourself anymore. It's interesting how medicine is really increasing. And that's all, okay, we have now. We give a shot. And then you go otherwise. It's interesting, polio, for years it was give a shot. And then when I was a kid, it was put a drop polio on a sugar cube because it was the most god-awful stuff you ever had in your entire life. And then they eventually went to just something that tastes better. Question? Okay, one more. We're done. Oh, man.
You don't really need to know shit
Gotta
about
go home and
your
have a nap.
You don't really need to know nothing in that child.
Probably can't. Oh, we won't.
We're going home figure it out. I ain't gonna study here.
Anti-neoplastic agents. A lot of these, whether they are antibiotics or anti-neoplastic, which is a new growth, anti-cancer drugs, is that they all have similar side effects. What do you think they are?
Lose a hair. Lose a hair.
Not a headache, nausea, and vomiting. Those are some of them.
Hair loss.
Hair loss, nausea, vomiting, renal compromise. We have so many things going on because of these medications are used to kill the fastest growing cells in the body. Cancer cells grow faster than anything else known to man, except for a couple of different kinds, like squamous cell and they grow a little slow. But so it attacks them. But because we have other fast-growing cells in the body, like epithelial cells and your hair and that, you know, that's why it affects that as well. That's when your hair falls out and you have diarrhea and so forth, because it's killing off good cells as well. On cancer itself are those things right there. Your parents had it. You have a terrible infection which altered the way the cells divided and grown. Environmental factors like 3 Mile Island and dietary like too many Twinkies. The medications are cycle-specific. If you look in your book, it shows a cycle of the cancer medication that it attacks in certain areas where it'll attack when the cell is just forming, or it'll attack before mitosis happens. or it'll attack when it's at its resting stage. Okay, somewhere on the cycle, the cell cycle, is when these things will attack. Combination chemotherapy tends to decrease drug resistance. You can use a combination, so you're not using so much of one, and therefore your drug toxicity tends to be lower. And now we have a lot of cases where the person's treated in the hospital, now they're stable, they give them all their medications and the IV stuff, and they send them home and have them do their chemotherapy at home. Cytoxin, mustard gas, nitrogen mustard. This is what they used in World War I to kill people. And how did it kill people? It caused destruction of the red blood cells. That's how that works. We still use it today, but in much more measured doses. Yeah. The only thing I'm going to say about alkylating agents, the action is that it prevents the cell from working properly. The cell cannot work in an alkaline environment, and that's what it causes. Done. Okay. Antimetabolites. All these medications do is they prevent the cell from metabolizing, and therefore it cannot produce energy, and therefore it dies. And that's why you're sick. The side effects and adverse reactions are all the same. We have hair falling out, we have nausea, we have vomiting, we have diarrhea, all the usual. Anti-tumor antibiotics which attack the tumor itself and kill off the tumor. The interesting thing to note is most of your anti-cancer medication is not designed to kill off all the cancer cells. It's designed to prevent metastasis. Designed to prevent the spread of the cancer cells. And then while doing that, can it kill cells? Oh yeah, we can do that. But its primary function is to prevent it from metastasizing, and prevent it from replicating so then it can break off and go into other parts of the body. If it's contained, then medication, the body's immune system, and then other treatments like radiation and so forth can help as well. And this is just some examples of your plant alkalins, which prevent the cell from metabolizing quick. Talked about that already. Okay, hormones. One of the biggest medications that's used on here for anti-cancer is an anti-androgen. Estrogen is one of the biggest fuels for breast cancer. Not totally, but for a majority of breast cancer, estrogen is the fuel. And the medication comes along in order to basically knocks out the woman's estrogen so that the cancer cell has no fuel thereafter if there's anything else floating in the body. There's nothing. There are some side effects. Loss of secondary sex characteristics and some other things. But it's a lot better than the alternative.
Do complete hysterectomies do the same thing or not?
No, the medication, the complete hysterectomy takes away the estrogen, if they take everything away. And then you have to have estrogen replacement therapy. That's another thing. Question or you want to?
I'm stretching.
Okay,
Give up my phone.
very good. Other medications that we have, biological therapies, as you can see up here.
Good. Let me see. That. See Brown. Have that there. See Vaseline.
And you can read it or you have it already.
Okay, that's
Preventing the cell from mitosis, and we're preventing it from having the fuel to be able to metabolize and continue to grow and multiply. I'm thinking there's a question on a test from that, I don't think so. But I've been wrong before. Come on.
No, you're wrong, man.
I don't remember a question on the test being things like, I have been wrong before.
So what does that mean exactly?
I'm not saying anything. It's on tape, I'm not saying anything.
No
Okay.
this. That's what he's saying. No this. But I know
Tyrosine
tell you the next
kinase
slide, baby.
inhibitors. If you remember your biology, if you had any chemistry, you should know what tyrosine is. Where's it located? DNA strand,
Okay.
yes, on the DNA strand. If you don't have DNA, you can't grow.
This one, no, that's the word.
We are, what we're doing is preventing the cancer cell vasculature or the ability for it to support itself.
Are these like chemo drugs?
Yes. Again, just giving you some examples.
Do we need to know the drugs?
No, this is for an example. This is for an example. You will find that you will have these drugs, they'll be given separately or in combination. When I first started working with cancer drugs, it was that you didn't have combinations. You had all the drugs were before you in the bedroom, and then you were given an order, and then you had to do all your calculations, and you had to build your own chemotherapy. I'm glad they got it better now. They're scared. Question?
I have a question. I
Or,
don't understand why we are going through these so fast. Like later, I don't know, I mean, if I memorize this, all I'm gonna know is just the basics. I mean, we're just flying through cancer.
we are flying through it. So I don't have, because we don't have time otherwise.
So every chapter is gonna be like
No,
that?
no, not every chapter can be like this. Our chapters that have less amount of material in it than others. You will see, you will see more than antibiotic treatment that you'll see in this. But this is still a requirement within the course itself to be taught and to be familiarized.